Show. Always Irish. Show. Always Irish. Show. Sometimes it's good to just yell about football. What are you doing? Don't do this to me, Harry! The Ohio State. It's Ohio State! What do you mean, the? It's a poison! I almost stroked out and died over it. I'm glad to be at the party. I'm mad we're this late. You ain't a captain of nothing but a sinking ship! That helps the defense without them even doing a damn thing! Doing a damn thing! The call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Oh, Irish. Irish. Yeah, that's right. Oh, boy. Welcome in, welcome back, folks. We got a lot going on. We have the blizzard that many of us are in the middle of. I'm in between waves. We got one initial big wave over the night into this morning. We're waiting for the next one. It is horrible outside. So everybody be safe. If you're dealing with the weather I'm dealing with, I saw somebody, I think in Michigan or somewhere, said that they're getting a bunch too. Stay safe out there. It's tough to navigate. So I might have to cut the show short and go shovel just so I can get in and out of here. It's supposed to drop to like -9 degrees. If you don't shovel it before that wave hits, you're screwed. It'll be frozen in place till June. It'll be there till June. So welcome in, everybody. We have a ton of news. Just the Saban news it's a big deal. And it's throwing off kilter kind of the landscape of college football and the pecking order. Things are shifting. Things are getting modern in a real way. Things are changing fast, and you can wrap your mind around it to find ways to say it's going to help Notre Dame with maybe Michigan winning and what that may signify, and Saban leaving, and it just feels like things are opening up a little bit. And if you want to try and take that angle, I think you can make arguments for that. I do. I think you can make arguments for that. If you want to say it looks like things are starting to loosen up and open up as far as parity goes, I'm interested in discussing that. Also, Freeman's name's been mentioned, and I want to briefly touch on that. And then Rees is emerging apparently as a finalist for the Alabama job. And I know how that's a lightning rod, and that's going to have people like wondering, what has he done to deserve that? This and that. Like, there's a lot here. So let's try and get into it. Take a little break from shoveling, grab some hot cocoa or whatever you need to do. And let's get into this. So thank you for being here. Obviously, everybody, it's a cold Friday. What else are we going to do? Let's talk some Notre Dame football. So thank you for being here. Obviously, you can find a program on YouTube. Do it. Subscribe if you haven't yet. Appreciate it very much. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps Johnny out as well. Notifications on that way you're alerted every time a new episode drops. I know nobody wants to miss it. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish, Rat, Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishnd@gmail.com. Audio only anywhere you want it. You can get it if you don't want to look at my face. I don't blame you on that one. Call-in lines. 312-988-15. You call, tell Johnny, oh, you've heard and seen. Dial it up. I just want to know what you think. What do you think of Rees being a finalist for this job, apparently? What do you make of Freeman's name being dropped initially by Pete Thamel? If it was a random nobody on Twitter, that's a little different than when it's Pete Thamel. That's why people kind of felt like they had to look at it seriously. Then again, could be an agent dropping that in the water just to make it pump up their client. I don't know how he ends up on the list, but we're going to talk about that. But dial it up if you want to go over any of this stuff. 312-988-15. Couple callers early. I'll try and get to you. Really good chats. And I'm going to go back and star a couple of them as we get into this. Instagram, Facebook, Always Irish Inc., USA Today, Fighting Irish Wire. You could read all about it. A couple articles I've got up there already about this. Patreon.com/Always Irish. Myself and Mike Goolsby behind the paywall. What could go wrong? A lot could go wrong. It's a fun time over there. We let it rip. Thank you to everybody that's joined. And as you can see, NDSubwayAlumni.com. Go get yourself a looski for the tailgate for the next game you're at. Get a t-shirt, get a hoodie, whatever. This is unique. There's a lot of Notre Dame stuff. There's not a lot of Notre Dame stuff tailor-made for the Subway alums. That's why I like this group. They notice and recognize the importance of this group over the history of Notre Dame, and they want to honor that. So proud to be working with them, and really nice guys. I don't make a partnership with anybody I don't trust personally. That's a big deal to me. All right, let's get into a couple of these chats. First thing, I always say this. Understand how this goes. Once the episode's posted, the chat opens up and people put chats in overnight or first thing in the morning before they go to work or whatever. So then I see them, and then when we get live, people add on. If I don't go back and star them, we're going to miss them all. Dennis O'Brien says DeBoer from Washington will get the Bama job. That seems to be one of the big names. It seems like Dan Lanning was maybe target number one and ended up not that interested. I don't know, turning it down. Oregon's very, very interesting because they have a ton of money with Nike and Phil Knight. Obviously, they have a ton of money. The issue is, and they're in a beautiful place between a mountain range and the ocean. Like, it's a beautiful place. They have a ton of money. The problem is you're 250, 300 miles from where all the talent usually is. That's the challenge. It's a geographical challenge in Oregon just because a lot of that talent is kind of not up in them mountains and those hills or whatever. So apparently Lanning is not a candidate. We're going to see how it goes. And so let me get a couple of these chats going. Norvell lands in Tuscaloosa. Conundrum says, that's another guy apparently on the finalist list. DeBoer, and then him, and then Rees, I guess. And I already see the Rees thing. It is just a lightning rod with Rees and this fan base. It just is. And so we're going to cover some of that. Pete Carroll to Bama. Yeah, crank that all up again. And you know what? That's something else I'm glad you mentioned is, man, if you're my age, you're not even just college, your football childhood. Man, it's kind of like this existential thing. When you have Saban out, you have Pete Carroll maybe out of football, and Belichick leaving New England after 24 years or whatever. Man, that's a lot of, those are like the three biggest names in coaching in my cognizant football life. If you think about it, Carroll, Belichick, and now Saban. I mean, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. Oh my gosh. Look at this from the Ohio podcast. Callers, I'm going to get to you, get your opinion. Let me get caught up on these chats. The Ohio podcast. The only star that could shine as bright as Saban is Neon Dia. Not saying he would win there, just saying he'd be a shiny ire for Bama. John, what are your thoughts? Here's one issue you're going to have is people on the board at Alabama are on record saying they are never going to hire a head coach who isn't white. That is a known thing down there. When they have their big donor dinners and they're drinking and smoking, there are quotes out there going back a long ways from people in that administrative group, those power players at Alabama, that have literally stated at some of those events, don't worry about it. We're never going there. We're not having a non-white coach ever. And if you disagree with me, I will send you some of the news articles and the picture of these quotes and who said it would be very interesting to you. I'm not trying to get sued or anything, but it's a very famous son of a very famous Alabama person who is on that board. You can figure out who it is. Maybe somebody with an animal's name and he has a kid who's a power player now for Bama. You figure it out. Nick Shepkowski, happy Friday, Always Irish Nation. Stay safe out there, Chicagoans. Just took me 50 minutes to do 6 miles. It's not good out, man. It is just brutal. And I think we're in between now. It's windy, but there ain't much going on. Then we're going to get another wave. Oh, man. Derek Galloway, Goolsby for ND linebackers coach. Make it happen, Johnny. I don't think I have that sway. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Here's one question I have for you guys. Do you think that, I don't know. Do you think that Alabama's frustrated right now because they had their hearts on Lanning and they thought Lanning who wouldn't take this job, and then for some reason he didn't want it? Like, do you think there's some frustration at Alabama there? Here's the other part of this, I wonder. The other part of this, I wonder, is, man, this is just really complicated. And I just, how much power and say does Nick Saban have in this? That's the biggest thing. When you start asking, how does Tommy Rees have this profile or whatever? That's what makes me think Nick Saban is the answer to that. Because you don't have the skins on the wall. You don't have a track record of elite defenses or elite offenses, rather. Elite winning at Notre Dame, and then whatever, mixed bag at Alabama. Started rough this year, got better, and then ended rough. Kind of how it went for them. And so then I start to wonder when you're looking at, man, I see these names. Kiffin, I see Sark. A lot of people are thinking DeBoer. I don't know how it's going to go. 618, you're coming up first. Somebody just dropped off. Feel free to call back. I know I'm slow getting to you. And what I'm saying is, if you're wondering, why Tommy? How does he not have like purely elite results, but then be up for all these premium jobs and all that? If they're going to take Saban's advice, and Saban loves Rees, and Rees is already in the building and understands everything going on, doesn't it make perfect sense then that Saban would say that? I mean, I guess, like, think about it. If you are going to trust anybody, if you're going to trust anybody's opinion on who would be good for a college football job, and the one that he had, it would be Nick Saban. Like, if you were going to trust anybody's advice on who should we hire on while you're retiring, Nick Saban's the number one guy. So if you're wondering how or why Tommy might be involved, that's got to be the answer, is Saban's the next guy who's a power player in college football that's pushing for Rees. And I understand the frustration that causes for Notre Dame people when he wasn't an elite player here. We didn't have elite offenses here. And it makes you wonder, what has Tommy Boy done to warrant these opportunities and to be spoken about in this manner? For some, you guys, somehow or another, all the most important college football people love Tommy Rees. Pat, you keep saying you don't have a lot of time. Oh, you're calling. That's why. Come on. Sorry about that, buddy. I wasn't looking at the call-in line. What's up? I'm like, I get it. You have a busy day. Not my problem, buddy. Now it makes perfect sense.
I have to go snowblow the entire neighborhood. No, the Tommy thing, God, some of you people are so damn annoying. Get over it.
What's your angle on it? What's your angle on it?
Well, who cares? Like, it's not us. Who cares if Tommy gets that job? Good for him if he gets that job. And if he's successful, great.
Yeah.
Great, because you know what we do know? Tommy wants to come back to Notre Dame. So if he can win at Alabama, that's just fantastic.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
Pat, isn't the answer he wasn't an elite quarterback? He didn't run elite offenses at Notre Dame, and he does not have the most outgoing, welcoming personality to get to know and like. I believe those are the reasons Notre Dame fans are always in a weird spot with Tommy Rees. And then you hear all the biggest people in college football think he's a genius. And Pat, it's frustration, because why didn't we, if he's a genius, we didn't get elite or near good enough results out of the offense here.
Yeah.
I think that's what this all, and then you hear Saban wants something and you're like, well, what the hell? He's great, but it wasn't great here. That's the frustration, man.
Right. It's just, but like to invest time on this, like Tommy didn't pay his dues. Tommy didn't. What do you actually care?
Yeah.
He is not at Notre Dame. He has no impact on anything that this program is doing.
Yeah.
All I want for Tommy, all I look at Tommy is this. Tommy is a Notre Dame guy.
Yeah.
He is a Notre Dame guy. He played football at Notre Dame. He coached at Notre Dame. Tommy loves Notre Dame. Was he the best player? No. Was he the best coach when he was at Notre Dame? No.
Yeah.
Does he still have the ability to become a great college football coach? Absolutely. He's 31 years old. How many great college football coaches? Even Nick Saban got fired from Alabama when he was 30. Ohio State when he was 30. So there's just, God, people, get over your Tommy stuff. It's worse than the Brian Kelly stuff. The hate for Tommy, it blows my mind. If me personally, I think Alabama will be stupid to hire Tommy Rees.
Yeah.
I think DeBoer is probably a great choice. He just took his team to the national championship. So I think that makes sense for Alabama. I think the guy, though, if it's not DeBoer, it's got to be Dabo. And I don't care what the students at Alabama say. Their chant was anybody but Dabo. Okay. Do you want to go take somebody who just got fired from, some no-name shit school somewhere over Dabo? Come on, be serious. It's just college kids. They're not serious. They're dumb because they're college kids. Dabo has been he's won at the biggest stage. He beat Nick Saban doing it, and he's been doing it for the longest time. To go into an Alabama where the boosters run it. You know what? Nick Saban was so successful at Alabama, no one else could be. Because when Nick Saban walked into Alabama, he told the boosters to get the F out of his office. He said, you keep paying me your money, I'll win champions. You keep donating your money, I'll win championships. But otherwise, get the hell away from me. You don't tell me how I do my thing. Like Jimbo Fisher lost to Texas A&M because the boosters would come in his office and tell him to do everything. If you're going to be the head coach of Alabama, you need to have the sway, the moxie, the power to walk in the door and say, this is my show. I'm running. You give me your money and you get the hell out. That's why you need a Dabo. That's why Alabama needs a Dabo. This whole, and that's why Tommy Rees would be a bad hire. But even if he is hired, I'm going to say great for Tommy Rees. I hope he's successful. I hope he's in the playoff every year. I hope he kicks Brian Kelly's ass at LSU. I hope he beats Kirby Smart at Georgia. And then when Marcus Freeman fails or succeeds and he leaves Notre Dame for whatever reason, we hire Tommy Rees to be the head coach because he's winning. That's all I want.
Yeah,
it's not hard, people.
This is nothing like the Brian Kelly thing. I don't like that comparison. This is night and day. This is nothing at all like the relationship fans had with Brian Kelly. This is a totally different thing to me on a different level. And you want him to succeed. It makes Notre Dame look good. Tommy wants to be Notre Dame's coach someday. Everybody needs to know that.
Yeah.
Tommy loves Notre Dame, and he has his mind on being the Notre Dame head coach at some point. My thought was, Pat, right along with you, have him do whatever he's going to do now in the interim. And then whenever Freeman's ready to take his next journey, maybe that's Tommy's time to come back home, baby. Don't think that has not crossed my mind as a plan that's been talked about.
Look,
I'm just saying.
Look, we know two things about the Notre Dame job. Number one, it burns coaches out. Okay. So we know whether Marcus is successful or he is not. it's going to burn him out. So whether he is successful or he is not, he's not going to be here for 17 years like Saban was at Alabama.
Yeah.
He's not going to be here for 20 years or the 40
grind.
years that Bill Paterno was at Penn State.
It's a different grind.
Yes. So he's not going to be the head coach of Notre Dame forever. 10, 12 years is probably the maximum, even on a guy who's 37 years old. Tommy is 31 years old. He'll be in his mid-40s. Let's pray to God he's successful head coach and he wants to come to Notre Dame when he's in his mid-40s. Holy cow, that would be perfect because he's going to pull a Lou Holtz and he's going to put a Notre Dame clause in his contract.
Yeah, it's Pat. There's just a huge. It's frustrating to the fans because we didn't see those results, but all of the power players in football seem to love him, and they all say he's a genius. And everybody's having trouble making both those make sense. Of like, I'm still waiting to see this pure eliteness genius all over, and it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating.
Yeah, and it's not. To me, it's not about Tommy. Like, I know for so many people it is, and I don't know if they're blaming him for the offenses he coached, the quarterbacks he recruited, or his play on the field. I have no idea. But God, so many people take things so personal. For me, the way I look at it is there is a guy who graduated with Notre Dame, a guy who gave everything to Notre Dame. He gave it to Notre Dame as a player. He gave it to Notre Dame as a coach. He gave everything to Notre Dame. Okay? I respect that. I would have loved to be in his position. I would love to be able to throw the ball farther than 30 yards. I would love to have been in his position and got a scholarship at Notre Dame. And he appreciates what he was able to achieve and what he's able to do because of his start at Notre Dame. And he wants to pay it back to Notre Dame. Because of that, I love it. I love that guy for that. I appreciate that guy for that. I have all the respect for him. If he got fired from Notre Dame because he was a terrible offensive coordinator, or let me go back. I hated Ty Willingham. I thought Ty Willingham was the greatest mistake Notre Dame ever made because that guy was, according to Goolsby, chipping golf balls during football practice. Yeah. Okay. That was the level of effort that you got from Ty Willingham. He didn't care about Notre Dame. He didn't like Notre Dame. He didn't deserve the job he had. It was just something to put on his resume. Okay. Charlie Weiss loved Notre Dame. Charlie Weiss was a Notre Dame graduate. Charlie Weiss understood and appreciated Notre Dame. Charlie Weiss was not a good head football coach. He was not a good head football coach. Great offensive coordinator in the NFL, not a great head football coach. Charlie Weiss failed at Notre Dame. He got fired at Notre Dame. I do not have any ill will for Charlie Weiss. I have zero ill will for Charlie Weiss. I appreciated what Charlie Weiss tried to do. He failed. He deserved to get fired. He wasn't good at his job, but he was a Notre Dame guy. He loved the university. I can understand if he has some bitterness from getting fired from the university, but I have all the utmost appreciation for everything he gave to Notre Dame because he did everything he could. It wasn't a situation where he was too fat to play golf, and so the only thing that was probably taking his time away from working was eating cheeseburgers.
Yeah. No, hey, man, it's just, does it make sense to you, Pat, that I can look at Rees and BK totally differently? Somebody asked me, why are you like wanting Rees to succeed and all that, but you're all against Kelly? How does that make sense? Those are not even close to the same situation at all. Like, they're just totally different.
Not at all.
They're totally different to me. And so those are not connected to me. And Tommy's already gone. It's not like you're that's the other thing, Pat.
Right.
You're not sitting there going, you're not, it would be different if he was still at Notre Dame, mentioned for that again, where you're like, I don't know if we want to lose him or not. We got an OC we like now, so it shouldn't be personal on that level. Like, you're covered, so it shouldn't be
personal.
that.
There should be nothing personal.
Yeah.
If people are like, Rees sucked as an offensive coordinator, then why didn't you blame Brian Kelly? Why didn't you blame Brian Kelly for not firing him? Why? If I thought the guy who just left to become a head coach, Parker, was a terrible offensive coordinator. I wasn't mad at Parker for being a terrible offensive coordinator. I was mad at Marcus Freeman for having a terrible offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get into the whole Ludwig thing. He
Yeah.
still hired the guy, and until the day it was announced he was leaving, he was still standing by the guy. So I blame Marcus Freeman for that. I didn't blame. I don't blame Tommy Rees for being Brian Van Gorder. Brian Van Gorder was the worst defensive coordinator any school could have ever imagined. That wasn't Brian Van Gorder's fault. Well, I mean, it was his fault because he sucked, but it was Brian Kelly's fault for hiring him and keeping him. That's where the responsibility lies. And so I'm just not going to be mad about Tommy Rees. Whatever he does, I'm just not going to be mad. If the guy gets the job, Alabama is going to be my second favorite team in the country. And I'm going to want them to win every game except if they play Notre Dame. That's just the end of it, because I want Notre Dame guys to be successful.
Yeah, and here's this,
because
Pat,
especially with Rees, because we know he said he wants to be the head coach of Notre Dame. So his success can translate into success at Notre Dame.
That is another, I'm glad you brought that up. That's exactly where I was going to go. It's almost like we've been friends forever and we know how each other thinks. It's weird. I'm with you on that. And then it's another difference between the BK and the Rees thing is I have not closed the door on Tommy being an asset for Notre Dame in the future. I am with Kelly. Dead. You're dead to me forever in the swamps of Louisiana. Yeah. But Tommy, if you're a Notre Dame guy, there should be a selfish aspect to this of wanting him to gain all this experience, do whatever he could do. And then maybe when Freeman moves along, however many years that is, maybe you get Tommy to come over. And Pat, here's what my gut tells me. I got a feeling I'd like Tommy in that form as the head coach way more than I ever liked him as an OC at Notre Dame. Does that make sense that I can see it that way? Because I do.
I mean, whatever works for you, John, that's fine by me. It's just, to me, it's just, I don't care. And if Tommy's not successful, let's say he got fired as the offensive coordinator of Alabama, which he very well might likely be once, if it's DeBoer or Swinney, and they're say we're not going to keep Tommy Rees.
Yeah.
He might be Bears fans, you better be ready. He might be the offensive coordinator of the Bears pretty soon. Or he may go back to LSU, because I don't think Kelly is actually hired as offensive coordinator yet. You don't know what's going to happen with him. But if he fails, he fails. Guess what? I'm not going to care, because he's not failing at Notre Dame. And if he fails, the only thing I'm going to care about is that I feel bad for the guy failed and he got fired, and maybe coaching isn't going to work out for him. But he's not at Notre Dame, so he doesn't live in my psyche. The only thing I want is for him to be successful. And if he's not, oh, well, good luck.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I don't know, man. There's just a lot of frustration, I think. A lot of frustration with Tommy's time here. And then now all the attention and the high level stuff he gets. It's just always going to be a thing, Pat. How much snow you got to blow? A lot?
Oh, yeah. It's thick.
Yeah,
it's sick. And my brother-in-law lives across the street, but he's in Arizona, so I got to go do his driveway. And then I got a bunch of elderly neighbors that, being raised as a good Irish Catholic boy in the south side of Chicago, I have to go snowblow all my neighbors.
What a good guy on a Friday, man. That's nice. It's going to be hard to hold a Miller Lite in your hand while you're doing that. You're going to have to take a break,
Oh, my dry January is still going, John. What is it? 12 days. 12 days in. I haven't had a sip.
No wonder you're starting to get goofy on us. It's throwing you off. I think your body and your brain isn't used to processing life without those Miller Lights to fuel it. That explains it, Pat. Yeah, it's all changing. So I don't know.
I still say for Alabama, I think you got to Dabo. I don't understand why people don't want Dabo. The guy has won 2 national championships. He's done it at the highest level against the best. When the SEC was the best of the best, he went in there and beat them. He's trailed off a little bit, but he's adjusting. He's getting transfers now. He's paying kids in NIL. He knows he has to adjust. He's still a relatively young guy, and so I just think he's. I think he's the right choice for continuation of success. I wouldn't be upset if I was a Washington fan if they hired DeBoer either.
Yeah.
I would not hire Sark. I wouldn't. Sark hasn't proved anything at Texas to me. I know he's in the playoff, but I didn't think Oklahoma was that good. Who did Texas really play? They beat up LSU. I didn't think LSU had no defense. So I don't know. Sark. I just worry about Sark.
Do you, Pat?
Kiffin,
do you
much as I enjoy Kiffin's trolling,
yeah,
I don't think I would hire Kiffin.
That is a big personality shift there from Saban over to Kiffin. That's like night and day to me. Do you believe that Alabama ultimately goes with the guy with a lot of heavy experience? Do you think that's going to be a priority or not? That it would be somebody with skins on the wall?
If I'm Alabama.
Follow me
if I'm
here,
Alabama,
Pat.
that's my priority.
Follow me here. With the way you got
Okay.
that program situated, with the talent pipeline, and you got it all cooking, and they're all pulling from the same end of the rope on football supremacy being number one. When you have that cooking, why would Alabama take on undue risk? That's my big question. By hiring an inexperienced guy, you're inputting risk into this that doesn't need to be there. Does that make sense? Why take an unneeded risk with the developing guy when you have something ready to run? It makes no sense to me.
I totally agree. That's why Tommy Rees makes no sense to me whatsoever.
That's what I'm thinking.
No sense. A 31-year-old guy with no head coaching experience taking over the most high-profile program in the country from the guy who is literally the greatest head coach college football has ever seen.
Yeah.
Unless Saban is taking the special advisor role and telling Tommy how to coach, I'm not going that way. And I cannot, like I put it in the chat, Lanning probably didn't go because Nike gave him all of Tiger's money that they were giving to Tiger.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's it just doesn't make sense for them to hire Tommy. It's DeBoer has shown he can win. He's shown he can win. He took a really, what I thought is not a great Washington team. If you look at Washington's recruiting, it was worse than Michigan's. And he made it there. How good was the Pac-12? Really? I don't know. But DeBoer or Swinney are I think the two best choices. I think Swinney takes it. I don't know why that guy doesn't take it.
Yeah. The only thing is, Pat, there's something. Dabo bothers me. He's a little goofy and he's a little reticent to kind of get modern in a Notre Dame way. Like, doesn't want to do the portal thing. He didn't love NIL. Like, buddy, you got to get with it. That's the game now. That's the only thing is he just doesn't love those things. It's clear that he doesn't.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Pat.
And by Mark with glasses. Who's on the Saban coaching tree? They had no plan in place. All right. Well, so you have Kirby Smart. You have Dan Lanning. You had Lanning at Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
Sark was on the coaching tree.
Sark, Kiffin.
Lane Kiffin is on that coach. Lane Kiffin is on that coaching tree. I mean, you have a ton of proven coaches on that coaching tree.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guys out there. And Dabo he went to Alabama. He played at Alabama. That's why Dabo, it just makes so much sense because when he left, when Bear Bryant left Texas A&M, they said, "Why are you leaving Texas A&M?" He goes, "Because mother called. When mother calls, you go home," because that's what Alabama was.
Yep.
And so Dabo could do the same thing. He's like, "Look, mother's calling. I have to go home." That's
and you know
exactly
what else too? Dabo's he's a little frustrated. Things have not gone smooth at Clemson for a few years now. Like
he's frustrated with the Clemson people.
He has clear frustrations with some of this. So I don't know, man. And then that would be really interesting. What the trickle down? It isn't just the Alabama job. It is the dominoes that fall after that.
Right.
Does Norvell leave Florida State and then Florida State's open? Like Texas, like these are some big brand names. It's the backfill shift too that people are interested in.
Yeah, I think if Dabo takes the Bama job, it has a bigger reaction because I think Clemson is a better job than Washington, and it's not just I know Washington was just in the national championship, but they're now just another player in the Big 10 or whatever the hell they should call that conference, the Big 24 or however many teams they have there. And they're way out on the West Coast, so they don't get the greatest TV slots. Clemson, you're in the heart of SEC country. You're in the ACC, so your path is easier. I think Clemson's a better job than the Washington job. So I think that creates a bigger domino effect. Obviously, if Sark takes it, if Sarkisian takes it, Texas opening up, I think Texas is equal in terms of stature to Alabama. So that could have an even bigger domino effect.
Yeah. Jay Carr put in the chat, the only name, image, and likeness Dabo approves of is Jesus. I love that. I love that. So I don't know, Pat, these are wild times, but I don't have the same animosity towards Tommy that I did Brian. I was always frustrated with the offense is under Tommy.
Hold on, John. Papa Smurf, please. Okay, you can say Dabo is the worst choice. Please tell me a guy who has second in wins in the last 10 years and has won 2 national championships is the worst choice. Please tell me how he's the worst choice.
And as a history, and he has a history with that program too.
You want? Right, and he has history with the program. But you could say he is the worst choice, but just saying the worst choice is like giving a guy a hand job who just got off. All right, it's worthless. Give me an exact reason why he's the worst choice.
Yeah, you can't say
out of his prime. What's his prime? What's his prime?
He can't be the worst.
72 years old.
Nobody that has multiple championships in the modern era can be the worst choice. That's my immediate response. Can it be that simple? Can it just end there? Like, the guy knows what he's doing. He's a proven entity, even though it's been rough the last couple of years.
He knows what he's doing. He's a proven entity. And who knows? Maybe he just needs, I first of all, he's retooled his coaching staff again. He's starting to figure out some of the losses with Venables and everybody. And he's getting into NIL and he's getting into the transfer portal. These were things that he was going to try to coach against. Now he's coaching with. Dabo is adjusting. And Dabo was unbeatable for like a 3-year stretch. And now against Nick Saban, against Kirby Smart, against all of the major players in the SEC. And now you put him in with Alabama, which I think is a higher profile than Clemson. It's the mainstay of the SEC. You give him all the Alabama resources, he's going to have a much more to pull than what Clemson was giving him. And that I don't care what the student section thinks. Dabo's going to win, and Dabo's going to have the experience to be able to tell the boosters to go F themselves and let him to run the program the way he needs to.
Yeah, and you know what else?
I think Tommy Rees would never be able to do.
Maybe like a fresh start for Dabo at a new place would allow him to reset his thought process on all these things and kind of have a clean slate. People are saying DeBoer canceled a radio show or whatever, and the assumption is that he's interviewing.
Sorry, John. Papa Smurf, what does that mean? How is the game passed him by? I just literally told you he's participating in NIL now, and he is participating in the transfer portal. What has passed him by? Because the game didn't pass him by when he kicked the shit out of Notre Dame this year.
Yeah, well, that's a very good point. I think that he's thinking what a lot of people are, that he's reticent to get into the NIL and the transfer thing, even though he's doing it. If you're doing it begrudgingly, it's a little different than if you're doing it with an open mind, I think is probably his point, Pat.
Sure, but his points are invalid at best. They're just invalid. He's doing it, and we'll see. What I bet you if he stays at Clemson, he starts winning again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If it's DeBoer, I don't know how interesting that is, because then you have him there, and then what's the appeal of that job opening? It is not Texas. It's not Florida State. Like that.
No,
it's not Clemson. That would be an interesting backfill then too.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same backfill. It'll probably be, it'll probably be someone from like the staff or something like that, because it's all, you got to remember, it's also late in the year.
Yeah.
Saban retiring when he is, it's late in the year. You're already past the main cycle of college turnover.
Yeah. See, this upsets me. Guinea Pig Clip says Clemson is already fading into obscurity. Well, they weren't obscure when they beat our ass in freaking Death Valley.
Right.
We had a chance to kick them down the path of up towards obscurity. They were begging to be put out of their misery, and we brought them back to life. That old Undertaker meme where he comes up out of the casket, that's Dabo. We could have killed all that, and we let him come roll the old Dabo things back. If you're taking stock in claims that I'd buy right now, we're letting it all happen. That's our fault. I'm still not over it. You couldn't tell.
Yeah, like holds my beer. Clemson did win 11 games in 2022. It's not. Do you guys not remember when Notre Dame played Clemson and beat them at home? That was an undefeated, highly ranked team. Okay, they had their first season of not 10-win games in 12 years or something like that, or 10 years. It's so the game has passed them by. It's absolute nonsense, because that was a team that came out and they won that football game for their coach.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be wild, man. And we'll just we'll see how this goes, but it is interesting. It's the biggest name in the sport. And you know what else? You know what makes me mad about it? I'm petty. You know, Brian Kelly's sipping a cold drink at a golf course celebrating this, and that bothers me. No matter who they backfill with, it isn't Saban. And you know,
but
Brian
you know what, John?
Kelly's the luckiest guy in the world, Pat. His entire Notre Dame tenure, USC was in a dumpster. And then 2 years into LSU, Saban retires. This guy's, he's timing it up right.
I know. Is Shep still in here? I read Shep's article about Pete Carroll. And I was like, thanks, Shep. That just really cheered me up today. Yeah. All I needed to read was all the times that Pete Carroll whipped the hell out of Notre Dame.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was wonderful.
Yeah. Thanks for making me remember that one. Anything else, Pat? Get your ass out there and start shoveling, boy.
No, I got to go. I got work to do.
All right. See ya.
I got work to do.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good show. Love you, brother.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh, man. I love it. Pat's always a lightning rod, man. You're either really going to agree with him or you're going to hate him. There's no other way. Pat, that snow ain't going to shovel itself. You know how Pat shovels. He ain't out there shoveling manually. I guarantee Pat's got a 90-inch snowblower. He could have a cigar going, probably a beer holder up there, and just the thing drives itself, basically. I guarantee it. Bush push. Yeah, was one of the worst moments of my entire life till Ohio State this year happened and replaced it. Once every 20 years, I'm good. I'm good for a new living nightmare I can never fall asleep without thinking about. And it was push for over 18 years. Now it's the end of the Ohio State game. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. This cigar is a good idea. It'll keep you warm, brother. It'll keep you warm. Let me do a couple of these super chats. I do appreciate you guys very much for donating. $5 holler, 618 coming to you next. And then anybody else, dial it up if you have an opinion. $5 holler from Andrew. In a meeting, I so badly want to call in and question why Goolsby's championing Rees on Twitter. Andrew, maybe it's this simple. He's a Notre Dame guy, and Goolsby has a personal relationship with him, and so he wants to see him succeed. It could be that easy of an answer, Andrew. It's not rocket science. He's not saying he's a polished product as an OC or a head coach and he's ready for all that and all the evidence is perfect. That he's not saying that. Goolsby's angle is he's a loyal Notre Dame guy and we should want him to succeed. And I do know for a fact, Goolsby and Tommy are buddies. So they have a personal relationship and he wants to see that guy succeed. I think it's just that simple. There doesn't have to be more to it. $5 holler from Steven. Just feel like helping out our fearless leader. Happy Friday, Irish Nation. Thank you so much, man. That means a lot to me. It means a lot to me. Eric he's stuck in Michigan dealing with the celebratory parade. $10 holler. Saban, good riddance. I've been waiting for that guy to retire for a long time now. Yeah, he's gone and he's going down in history. What was the record at Alabama? 206-29 is unbelievable. And 6 of the 29 losses came in year one when he first walked in the door and had to deal with whatever crap was there and start to figure it out. That's where 6 of the 29 losses came. Unbelievable run. Unbelievable run. Look at what he did to us. Will he be hard again? Can't answer that question. Maybe Dr. John has an extra pill for you. $5 holler. I'm glad the Saban news took Michigan out of the headlines a bit. That is a minor solace. Minor. Although, if you're Michigan, you don't care. And if I was Notre Dame, I wouldn't care. Nothing would be able to take me down from the cloud I would be floating on if we won a championship. The last thing in my mind would be, oh my gosh, not enough people are talking about this nationally. I would know that they all know and they're all mad. And I'd be floating on cloud 9. It would not kill my buzz. I see multiple people mentioning Prime at Alabama. Just no. No. I can't trust the way the guy's building a roster and a program. There's no stability. I can't trust that. I'm not doing that. Headlines, cameras, just even Dion, the way he would look in the Alabama, all of it would play beautiful. I cannot trust the way that guy's trying to build things. Maybe it'll level out and work out for him. I don't know. But that's kind of wild to me. So thank you for the chats. Let's do a couple more calls, and then I have some more chats. One quick thing on Freeman in this. Maybe I'll put that on hold and address this. Andrew says, I hear you, John. I just don't get how you could be so negative on Kelly, but not put Rees in the same light. He oversaw a chaotic QB room, didn't supervise the coaches like Dell, and pushed Buckner. I think it's because Kelly has more power. Like Kelly had more control over all that situation than Rees did. It was always in my mind, are there different things Rees would want to do, but he can't because Kelly's there. Like, I think it's one of those things where I hold the head guy more responsible than the guy underneath him. That's kind of the difference to me. Also, there's just way more evidence that I have personally of all the stuff Kelly did I didn't like than Rees. But ultimately, you could say, is it a chain of command thing? Where Kelly's the head guy, so he's going to take more of the bullets than a lower level guy. Maybe that's a part of it too. 618-224-419 coming up. 618, what's going on? Yo. 618, call me when you wake up. Sometimes he puts me on when he goes and runs errands and calls just to get the show that way and then falls asleep or he's doing something. 224, what's going on? Good morning.
Good morning, Johnny boy.
What's going on?
Nothing. You're going on. That's what's happening.
Oh, I'm going on. I want to know. Fill me in on that. How are we supposed to think of all this, man? By the way, why is your number all blocked out? I can't even get a number. I know that voice. I can't even get a number to show up with your name. What's the deal?
Well, it said 224, didn't it? That's how I knew I was on.
Yeah, 224.
No number, huh?
But usually it gives names.
That's weird. I don't know why that's doing it. I have no idea. No, I mean, the Tommy Rees thing, the more I think about it, the more it kind of makes sense for all parties involved. And I'm not trying to sound crazy, but okay, so who are the major players? If you're Alabama, you're circling Lanning, done. He's not coming. Sark just put up a copycat video of Lanning. He's not coming. He's staying in Texas.
Yep.
So that leaves, Lane Kiffin at the top of the list, DeBoer from Washington. Like, DeBoer makes a ton of sense. But when you're looking at those, if you're looking at Kirby Smart ain't coming, the SEC just got that much more winnable. And guys have invested time at these places. And if you have a path to the college football playoff that, not that it's not going to involve Alabama, but Alabama's probably not going to be Alabama like it was under Saban. I think it's safe to say, like, why leave the couple of years that you have at your program? And I don't know, is it setting up to be a situation like Duke did with Coach K and John Shire, where Saban sits in his nice office that overlooks the stadium and still pulling strings and not having to deal with the NIL stuff, not having to deal with the recruiting stuff and the transfer portal stuff on a day-to-day basis, but still oversee a program and be there with it?
Yeah. Can I ask you this? I want your opinion on this. I understand this is the ultimate college football king in the modern era and his knowledge is invaluable. Is it wise to have him in the building at all times, even with the next guy there? Or does that put some undue weird pressure on the next guy that Saban's down the hallway and like that shadow of dad is always there, like judging you? Does that make it weird? Or does that not matter because this is unique and you need all that guy's knowledge you could get? Does my question make sense?
Yeah, it makes plenty of sense. Like, I think it depends on who the head coach is.
Yeah, what that
So if you say
personality is like.
31-year-old,
Yeah.
you say 31-year-old Tommy Rees who doesn't have head coaching experience. Yeah, it's kind of the BK thing of, well, how much is Rees going to really be able to run his own offense or call his own plays if BK is down the hall or in the headset with him? I think it presents some of that same thing, but it's also kind of that guidance of, all right, well, here's a little bit more of a smoother landing anyway. But then you say you bring in a big personality, say it's Lane Kiffin, say it's DeBoer, whoever it might be. I think that's where it clashes. So I think it depends on who ultimately the head coach is.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And then what do you make of how Notre Dame fans can look at Kelly and Rees so differently? A lot of people are anti-Rees, but a lot of people are like, don't like Kelly, but want Rees to succeed. Is it the head man thing? Like I kind of think, why do you think there's a difference there?
Well, I mean, think about it. If it's Tommy Rees's goal to come back one day and be the head coach of Notre Dame, you're not going to become the head coach of Notre Dame sitting under Marcus Freeman. You're going to have to go out on your own at some point.
Right.
What better situation can he go to than go coach under Nick Saban? Now, I think if Tommy Rees were to have a say in it, he would have liked a couple of years to be able to use that, not just one under Saban. But there's not a better person to go learn to be a head coach under than that guy. So that makes sense. And I know you touched on it a little bit. Like, best case scenario for Freeman, I mean, he lasts how long? 10 years, 12 years? This job burns you out. Doesn't matter how young you are, how energetic you are. This job burns you out like very few jobs in.
I got two. President and manager of the Yankees. Those are like the two that I put up there with this one as far as aging you faster than you should. You age like worse than a Civil War vet. Like, I mean, it's bad. It's rough.
Yeah, I mean, what was the old T-shirts, guy, when we were kids? The 3 hardest jobs in the United States are mayor of New York, president of the United States, and quarterback or head coach at Notre Dame.
Yeah, it's wild. And then let me ask you this, Nick: why is Freeman on those initial lists when Pete Thamel put it out the first night and all that? Is that agent driven to kind of throw you in there just because it looks good to be at that level? Is that all there is to that? Because it really doesn't make sense that Alabama would even consider taking on undue risk like that from the outside with the growing guy to me. Unless it's Rees, who's already been there and is entrenched. That's different. Where do you think Freeman got thrown in this from?
I always think it's the agents. Whenever there's a coach opening, I always think it's the agents trying to use it for some kind of leverage. It's what you saw with USC and James Franklin a couple of years ago. I thought it when the USC opening came, and Kirk Herbstreit kept saying, "Oh, look out for Brian Kelly, look out for Brian Kelly," and that was what was that? That ended up being Trace Armstrong planting the seeds on Kelly. Well, he went and helped get his guy Lincoln Riley that job. Well, he got his other guy the job at LSU simultaneously. It's smoke screens. So much of it. I mean, a lot of times these universities, these athletic departments are button up. Sure, you'll get some loudmouth boosters that are trying to get their way and pitch their way. Yeah, I buy into that being agent driven. Very, very much so.
Yeah, and a lot of people now are shifting from the fear of him taking an Alabama job to the fear of him backfilling a big job that is open because of whoever takes the Alabama job. Man, I don't see that. I really don't. I think he is in a comfortable place where there's been understanding that he's kind of a work in progress. A lot of the hardest work had to be done the first 2 years. Now you feel like you're starting to stabilize and turn a corner. And I just believe Marcus is the type of guy that's going to want to see the fruit of those labors. And I think this is a pretty good situation for him developing where he's at right now. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, you got 2 coordinators that he's got to be absolutely thrilled with. He's gotten his coaching staff in place that, by all early reviews, we're pretty enthusiastic about so far in here. He's starting to build something. Obviously, he's gone to administration and gotten things to work a little bit differently than they have in years past in terms of the transfer portal and allowing transfers in that part. Like, he's made a lot of headway here, and I don't look at it as like it would have to be, I don't think it would happen, but it would have to be one of those positions that you go to a school and it's not a rebuild. It's all right, we're set up to win and win big very, very quickly, not a 2-year overhaul through the portal and rebuilding this thing. No,
Yeah.
I look at it and I would be stunned. But then again, I also said that with BK. I was pleasantly stunned, but stunned nonetheless.
Yeah. And I think here's the other thing, man, and this is just a unique thing with me and why some of my priorities. Freeman's personality is uniquely qualified to navigate all of the Notre Dameness. And I know you'll know what I mean by that. Like, he's got an adaptable, adept personality enough that he's able to wear these different hats and navigate all the different extra BS relationship, like maintenance and all the extras you got to do at Notre Dame. He is naturally really gifted at doing that. And it is working. They want to work with them. Doors are opening at Notre Dame to help football out that weren't open under BK. And I just think it's a good fit right now. It's just a good fit. So I would be shocked if Freeman left, and I just don't see it. Maybe we'll be dead wrong. I just don't see it right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I guess I'll share this BK story that I heard from a national college football reporter at one time. And this reporter ran into BK during the off season in a large United States city at a restaurant just by chance, and went up, said hi to him. And shortly into their time sharing a drink together and talking, a fan came up. Oh, Brian Kelly. Hey, I'm such a Notre Dame fan. My grandpa was a Notre Dame fan. He's the one that taught me, and he died in whatever year. And after he took a picture with this fan, Brian Kelly turns and he tells this guy, well, if I hear one more dead grandpa story about Notre Dame, my God, this is every stinking day. Yeah. And it's like,
that's the whole thing, buddy. That's it.
Like, it's either you get it or you don't get it. It's really not complicated. I know you had the conversation. I forget which caller years earlier had the part of really liked Weiss. Weiss was an ass. Don't get me wrong, but Charlie Weiss loved Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Tyrone Willingham loved the golf course. Tyrone Willingham loved.
He loved himself.
I don't know what.
He loved his ego.
Speaking as if he was holier than thou and the perfect person for every problem in the world, and had half of the media in his back pocket, the John Saunders of the world, and whatever else. But like, Tyrone Willingham didn't love Notre Dame. Lou Holtz loved Notre Dame. I don't know if Bob Davie loved Notre Dame. Bob Davie loves coaching. Bob Davie loves football. I don't know if Bob Davie loved Notre Dame. And it's like, you can spot it.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean you're going to be successful. I mean, look way back at Jerry Faust. Nobody loved Notre Dame more than that guy. He just happened to be in a position that he was not qualified for, and it set the program back years and years. So does it mean wins and losses? Not necessarily, but it sure as hell means something to like you, me, Patrick, plenty of people in this room right now that bleed blue and gold. Like, it means something for that position to be someone that really loves the university, loves what the program stands for and everything.
Yeah, man, I've been on record saying this forever. If you look back at the history of Notre Dame, nobody really wins big there unless they genuinely have that understanding and acceptance that their ego comes second to that lady on the dome. Those are the only guys that make it in Notre Dame, are the guys that understand and are willing to operate, understand it. Their mission's bigger than just them. And if you don't have that, you can't force it. You can't fake it. You could try and fake it, but it's going to be obvious. You can't. It's just either there or not. And I think Freeman's diving in, man. I think he's really diving in here. And we're about to see it start turning. That's what we need to happen.
Yeah. And I mean, I know I've talked to you about this. I've talked to plenty of people about it, but it's like, Year three is where that magic happens at Notre Dame.
Yep.
Not saying you have to be like Divine, you have to be like Parsegian, you have to be like Lou and have to win the title by year 3, but you have to have this thing up and running. And the planets are aligning. Stars are aligning right now for Freeman. You have obviously one hell of a defensive coordinator in Al Golden. You get Denbrock back. So you have I know you've called it, you and Goolsby have called it the gray hair factor. You have that on both sides. You have position coaches that it seems like, look across the board right now, which ones do you have questions on? Mike Evans, just because you don't know a lot about him right now, but offensive line you feel good about. Quarterback-wise, you feel good about. Running backs, you could argue, is as good as well-positioned as any in the country at that position. Defensive side of the ball, you're absolutely loaded with your coaching staff right now. I know a year ago we were concerned about Al Washington. My God, might have been your assistant coach of the year this year, at least positions group-wise, coach of the year this year for what he got out of that defensive line.
He deserves a lot of credit. About this thing. He deserves a lot of credit, Nick. Nick, I was getting, the Ohio State people were saying, the joke's on you guys. This guy can't recruit, and he's not going to get him to play for you. We didn't want him. He's garbage or whatever. And then he ended up doing a great job, and that unit performed well, and the recruiting's upticked. I like what I've seen.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I think they had a point that first year. That I was concerned his first year on campus. Like, defensive line regressed. And Mike Elston, I know he's a rival in Michigan now, but it's no surprise that Mike Elston's defensive line unit was arguably the best in college football this year. That guy does a hell of a job at what he does. He did it here, put guys in the pros year after year after year on a regular basis, is doing it again there. And I think Washington, okay, he had a rough year his first season, took a huge step there. And I mean, look at that 2025 recruiting class. It is absolutely loaded up front. And if Michigan showed us anything, I know that you've discussed a little bit the Michigan model. Is that the way Notre Dame has to win? You have to be able to dominate the lines. If you're going to win from being Michigan, win from being Notre Dame, you got to dominate both lines of scrimmage, offensively, defensively. And it's setting up for Notre Dame to have one of those just absolute ass-kicking defensive lines.
Yep.
And then, you look back in 2012, how quickly that closes the gap on a lot of the elite programs or big-time programs. You get that right, I feel good about where Washington's leading this thing.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know, man. It feels like we're trending in the right direction. I'm finally seeing for the first time in my cognizant existence, Notre Dame's helping the football team out. There are little things going on and big things behind the scenes that they really are kind of turning a corner there. The portal's opening up. What the flexibility they have to operate in the portal is opening up. NIL is not going to be a restricted problem for Notre Dame. They're about to announce the groundwork on a new facility or the upgrades or whatever. Like, there is a lot trending in the right direction for Notre Dame right as the playoff expands. This should get really exciting really quick. Should.
Well, and then also look at their schedule for 2024. Okay? Open up with a huge run at Texas A&M. A lot of talent on that team, new head coach, and sure, it's going to be buzzing and an excitement there, but I mean, it's Texas A&M and it's Florida State, and there's a lot of games that not just be a favorite, but a sizable favorite in the rest of the way in those. And it's like, okay, well, this sets up that if it's not a season that ends with not just a college football playoff berth, but hosting a home game in the college football playoff, like, it's going to feel like a disappointment.
Here's the roadmap. If you get the number, we all know we can't have the bye. But if you get the number 5, you get a home playoff game the week of Christmas. I believe it's December 20th at Notre Dame Stadium in that cold weather. Then if you win that one, then you play the lowest ranked Power 5 champion. So that means you would probably be able to avoid the Big Ten and the SEC champion in that next round. Those would probably be in the top 4. So then you would catch the lowest ranked Power 5 champ. That is a roadmap I'm interested in. That sounds juicy to me. I like it.
Yeah, I'm with you because, I mean, you're looking at it, and just for instance, like, all right, so say it's the 4 seed. You looking at Arizona? You looking at who comes out of the Big 12 next year? Utah? One of those teams you're looking at from the ACC, Clemson or Florida State.
Exactly.
Or
That's what you're looking at.
Never actually do it.
And then you get to play the non-Power 5 winner in the first round too. And there is risk there. You don't want to lose that game at home against a non-Power 5 champion, lower level. I get all that, but that's the roadmap for Notre Dame. You're going to get that 5 seed, baby.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you get the home game. Can we just think about how cool that'll be? And I know I've been anti-playoff expansion because I think that college football's forever had the best regular season. If we just think about how awesome that scene will be one day, when Notre Dame opens up a playoff game, national championship on the line in the middle of December, and you have, I don't know, maybe a team from Baton Rouge coming north to play in a playoff game, or maybe like a Florida State or someone coming and playing in freezing ass December in South Bend.
I love it.
Sign me up.
I love it, man.
The Always Irish tailgate will be kicking that day.
Oh my gosh. Like it would be history, man. It would literally be history at Notre Dame Stadium. And it would be wild. And so I don't know, man, but college football is year round now, man. There are games and then periods without games, but it is always something. Every day you got something with college football. It is a wild thing now. It is literally 365, man. It never, ever stops. It just changes what you're talking about. It's great.
Yeah, it goes to recruiting, to the portal, to coaching changes, to back to the portal again. Oh, here's spring practice. Okay. Spring practice ends. Okay. Here's a mass exodus of players again. Here's another slew of players coming into new schools. It doesn't end. Like, it seems like the off season isn't really an off season anymore. I think you're right. I think that it's divided into different. All right, well, here's this section of it. Okay, here's this section of it.
It's like the games.
Before you know it, it's going to be the end of March and spring ball is going to kick off.
You have the games, you have your spring ball, and then you have like portal season and recruiting season. And they're all so heavily covered and like publicized now that it's just year round, man. It shifts. I'm just telling you, dude, I feel like Notre Dame's rounding into form. I like the direction of these things. And the Denbrock thing was so important to me. You turned what I was worried could be an anchor holding down what this is all, the potential of everything else. And you flipped it from my biggest worry to something where I feel confident in that we have what we need over there. That was a big thing to me, man. That is a huge deal to me. The biggest.
Well, I mean, think back a year ago, or I guess not quite a year, February of last year, when Tommy leaves for Alabama, and just how much that got messed up by Notre Dame. I know Freeman had to jump on the grenade for everyone.
Yep.
You can't tell me that. I know that Parker's his buddy. I'm not going to downplay that. You can't tell me that you're dragging what's his name from Utah to Mike Ludwig from Utah to the hockey game and having the pictures and everything going around. Harry Stands retiring in the middle of all that, if you don't forget as well. Like, that wasn't all by accident. Something got fumbled somewhere in there, and I don't look at Marcus Freeman as the guy that necessarily is to blame for that, even though he kind of had to fall on things and take one for the team, so to say. Yeah. Look at how much of just a cluster what that was just a year ago. And then this time it's, all right, Parker's gone. He's going to Troy. That happened on Monday, and by Thursday or Friday, it was known or reported that Denbrock was officially the guy and headed to South Bend. Like, it was, all right, it's going to cost a lot of money, but it's a guy that wants to be here. Notre Dame means something to him. And yeah, it helps, I think, Irish fans. I think it helps you and I of like, okay, rub a little bit of dirt on Brian Kelly. Yeah, but ultimately that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it's a guy that simply wants to be at Notre Dame, found his way back there. And, yeah, he is really, really good as an offensive coordinator. When you give him a quarterback that's mobile, can throw a bit and move around on his feet a bit, and it gets you that much more excited for what we were just talking about in 2024.
Yeah, man, I just feel like a lot of the dirty work the first 2 years is water under the bridge, and now we need to round this thing and get some results. And this is going to be a big year, man. Like, this new playoff, you got to be a part of it. That's the bar. That's the only acceptable bar, year 3. You have all the history of Notre Dame coaches and their success in year 3. Like, it's just kind of got to be, and it's all lining up. So I'm excited to see how this all plays out with Alabama, and I'm really excited. Nick, Notre Dame, Texas A&M week 1, huge moment. Pitt, we always talk about moving the needle, getting over the hump and all that. Your first chance to do it again. Your next chance is week 1 right out of the gate. And I could argue the worst an Elko defense is ever probably going to play is year 1, week 1. Maybe you should just be glad you're getting them then, and you got to find a way to win that one on the road, and then we're off to the races next year. I'm already looking to that.
Yeah, the worst an Elko defense is going to play is week 1 and year 1 of him as the head coach, or if it has to be an early November game in Miami.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Sorry to bring up flashbacks of 2017.
Yeah, good one. I'm trying to block that out. So, I don't know, man. This is all Man, new times at Notre Dame, though, a lot has changed. In some ways, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago Kelly was here. And in others, if you look at the changes in the sport and at Notre Dame since just these 2 years, things are changing more rapidly than they ever did before. I don't know if that's just the pace of life these days or what, but man, things have changed a lot.
We have a lot of catching up to do. I think that's a big part of it, is that you didn't realize. And I know we just like to make fun of Brian Kelly of he's got excuses for this, that, and everything else, and can't keep Notre Dame out of his mouth when he left. But I do think what you're seeing is when we speak of these changes and we speak of this, okay, well, yeah, things are changing in the right direction. You are seeing a football program and athletic department as well modernize, get with the times, and realize, okay, the way we've always done things isn't going to work in this new day of college football and college sports as a whole. And you see it modernize, and it happens to have a head coach that is one heck of a salesman when it comes to the university itself.
Yeah. Yep. It's really rounding into form. You have that guy in the middle, and then you have this support now on both sides of the ball with proven guys with low ego that aren't there for themselves. They're there to help Freeman. It's all lining up, man. The things are rounding into form, but the results got to come at some point. Like, you got to get over that big game humps at some, like, we're getting to the point here where, like, we're going to need to start seeing it on the field here. And I think this year should be the beginning of that. Thanks for calling, man. Anything else? Great catching up. I'm glad. I feel bad I haven't been able to record the last couple times you were.
Yeah, I know. We're on kind of opposite schedules, I think. So I just, I don't know, after I heard Patrick call in, I'm like, what am I doing right now? I got an hour and a half. What the heck? I'm gonna call into this for a change. No, can we fast forward? Can we get to stinking August yet? Like, oh my God, like the hype and the excitement. It's just, I guess, the way the year ends too. I know bowl games are irrelevant and don't matter. And okay, you beat up a team that was a nothing in Oregon State, but my goodness, like, how can you not be excited? Just get me to August. Let's go.
Yeah. Yep. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of Texas A&M thoughts between now and then. So I don't know, man, but it's never a dull moment. And I am feeling good about where Freeman has this trending. I'm seeing a lot of indicators from him, the staff, the recruiting, and the administration that are all kind of lining up in the right direction. And I'm not used to that. That tells me things are changing. And the sky's the limit for Notre Dame if everybody's pulling from the same end of the rope. And I'm beginning to see more evidence that makes me think that's going on. I'm really excited about it. I like where we're positioned presently.
Absolutely. I'm with you. No, I appreciate you letting me give me the platform. No, this was fun.
No problem, buddy. Get out there and shovel that snow.
Heart attack snow out there, dude. I know. I'm off to it, though.
All right. Thanks, man.
All
See
right,
ya.
John. Take it easy.
Later. All right. So if you're in the Chicago area, you might recognize that voice and know who that is. That's Nick Shepkowski. So he's the managing editor, my boss at USA Today Irish Wire. So that's the main editor there that's in charge of all that website and all the USA Today stuff we do. And if you're a Chicago guy, you'll remember Nick from 670 The Score, producer, Boers and Bernstein, the whole thing when sports talk radio was in its prime in Chicago. Nick was there, I believe, over 15 years working in the biggest sports talk station in Chicago. And so, yeah, he's a professional radio guy. Like it's beautiful just to have that connection with the guy that was at that level. And that was my childhood, listening to those guys on the radio every single minute. Really, really good guy. 419, you're on the line. And then Adam, you're coming up next. I want to hear from you. What's going on, 419?
No, not a whole lot. Your boss said a lot of the stuff I was going to say. But right now, I don't give a shit about Tommy Rees.
Yeah.
Maybe down the line that changes, but he left us high and dry right before spring practice, and we got stuck the way we got stuck, and somewhat lateral move. I mean, obviously, Alabama OC is probably better for your career, but when it's your school, you probably can argue maybe not so much.
Yeah. I mean, you got to admit that it's similar. It's the same job, but everybody would pretty much consider it an upgrade going with that talent and learning under Saban, right? Like, I understand that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't blame him for the opportunity. Just timing wise, like maybe I'll warm up to him, but I'm still pissed.
Yeah,
pissed at how it unfolded.
Yeah,
and I was thinking about this with the Saban retirement, and I was kind of like putting it in perspective to like how crazy hard it's going to be going forward to try to win a championship with having to play 4 playoff games.
Yep.
And I mean, I don't think we realize like how crazy this playoff's going to be. It's going to be amazing, but it's going to be nuts.
Yeah. Really good question though. It's weird you bring this up. Late last night, Goolsby and I were in the mood to record, and we just text each other, let's just riff and talk about whatever. And we debated harder, easier for Notre Dame to win in the new playoff format. It is easier to get in the tournament from 4 to 12, but it is harder to win a title once you get in it. And we're debating was it easier in the BCS where if you just make it, you only have to win 1 game, but making it there is way harder, or the more spins at the wheel theory, you got to be in it to win it and having the access. So I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know how it's going to play out, but you're going to have Notre Dame winning 4 top 12 games in a row. And that's hard to do for anybody, let alone who would think Notre Dame's going to win 4 of those games in a row the way we've been playing. Like, it's just hard to wrap your mind around. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I feel like, you can it depends on the circumstances of your scheduling, like when we made it in 2012, and obviously we weren't championship caliber team, where now it doesn't matter. You can have an easy schedule, get in and, get waxed, against the 12 seed or 4 seed in the second round. So I feel like it's way easier before.
Yeah, but you need the 5. You need the 5 because then you face the non-power 5 team and then the lowest ranked conference champion. So the 5 is Notre Dame's path, the easiest path, but it is going to be tough. It is going to be tough. There's no way around that. But you should be in it more often. So I don't know. It's just we're going to have to see how it plays out. I do know this. Teams that are built with durability and reliable depth, and I don't mean depth like we could throw a dead carcass out there, depth like players, those are the teams that are going to succeed in this, because you're going to get dinged. These are going to be physical games, some in cold weather. Like with the good heavy hitting teams, you're going to have some depth to survive that gauntlet. And Notre Dame's trying to build that, and it is improving. Is it enough? I don't know. You're going to have major depth.
Yeah, because the 1 seed and the 2 seed is going to be the Big Ten champ and the SEC champ. So getting that 5 has got to be the priority.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And so that is it's interesting, but it is a changing world. But the idea of hosting a playoff game on December 20th at Notre Dame Stadium that's like heaven. I mean, that's like, it's just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, I think the good news is like, Freeman's already has 2 top 10 wins. It took Kelly 12 years to do that. I mean, we should have had 3 top 10 wins if we knew how to close against Ohio State. Yeah. So, I mean, he's shown that he can win the big games versus what we had to
Here's the other thing. Let me
go
bring this
through
up to you.
Kelly.
He does have, those ranked wins. He has more ranked wins than any Notre Dame coach in his first 2 years of his tenure. That is just a bona fide fact. Freeman has more top 25 victories than anybody in their first 2 years. But it's just, I don't know, man. It feels like we're just rounding into form. It feels like the first 2 years had all that rockiness, and now things are leveling out with the staff. The roster's turning over. You're getting some help from the admin. I can't help but feel kind of positive about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm setting myself up to be disappointed again. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think so too. And I think, like I said, those top 10 wins are really where you want to look at, because a lot of teams are in the top 25 just by having a name or what have you. And, you don't get in the top 10 just thrown in there. So, I mean, his wins are, he's got them. So,
yeah,
I'm optimistic.
Yeah, and nothing's a finished product. The roster's not a finished product. Freeman is not a finished product. But I am encouraged by the way they're trying to build towards that. I just am. And so I'm excited about where things are trending. But the other thing is, man, at some point here, Notre Dame's got to get over the hump, break through the glass, win the biggest game on their schedule. Like, that's the next part of this, is at some point, you're going to have to get over that hump. And Ohio State was a chance, last year, and you didn't do it. And Georgia with Kelly, there was a couple chances to do it against Georgia, and it didn't happen. You were close. At some point, to really turn the corner, you got to be the one who finds a way to make a few more plays and win those games. And then that, I think, lights the wick, and off we go.
Yeah, and I feel like, especially watching this year, it seems like now there's more teams that are beatable. Where before you just had, 3-4 teams you'd be almost scared of.
Where there's a big gap.
And I don't really feel that way anymore.
Yeah, and the
now
other,
I feel
man, damn it, you're right on this, because I was literally writing this down as you said that. The other thing I look at is the losses we do have are built different. They all count the same on paper, one loss. But the losses are built different, meaning exactly what you said. Ohio State, you were right in that game. You belonged on the same field with them. You didn't lose to Louisville because you didn't have the talent, and you didn't lose to Clemson because they blew you off the field physically like they did in the playoff game a bunch of years ago. So, yeah, it's bad that you lost those games physically. You could have won, but it's also encouraging in a way, because you're not running out there and you just can't line up on the field and physically play with these teams. So I don't like any losses, but these are not, you just physically can't compete with this team. That's a different signal. That signals you got a personnel problem and a recruiting problem and a developing problem. This is a little different, and it's encouraging in a way, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
So I don't know, man. What do you think? Who gets the Alabama job? Let's finish on that. Who would be your guess? Would it be DeBauer or somebody else, or do you bring Urban in? Like, what do you do here?
That's why I was chatting to Pat. I just can't believe they didn't have like any kind of plan, knowing, probably year in, year out, it was being a possibility. And I have no idea. I'd love to see him do a bad hire, though.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
yeah,
that's tough to follow. I mean,
it is. That's tough, man. Following that guy is going to be really, really a challenge, because you're not that guy, and there's nothing you can do. Whoever gets this job has to be willing to understand that's what comes with inheriting this program that's like kind of on elite status cruise control. That just comes with it.
6 championships. I know you know a lot about Frank Leahy. Did he have 4? and then he left for the Navy for a couple
I believe
years.
so. Yeah, he
know-
couldn't get to that level.
know-
That stupid. The war ruined Frank. Frank had it all rolling, and then he left to go to the war. And they said, you don't have to go. And he said it's the right thing to do to leave this desk at Notre Dame and go.
Yeah.
And so he literally left, but then he recruited. Frank was always angling. So he went into the Navy, and then he volunteered to be in charge of like the activity program or whatever. And then he recruited, and he told all those guys, if we make it out of here alive, how much eligibility you got? You're coming with me. And then he just kept winning. He just kept winning.
Yeah, I know he had. Yeah, I know. I think he left for like 3 years, and if he had 4, he could have got a couple more. I think he had 2 as a player. So I mean, he's right. He's right there, and would have been right with Saban if it wasn't for that.
Man,
but,
I'm telling you, Frank, man. Frank got eaten alive. He could not, it wore Frank down. He took everything so seriously, so personally. Everything had to be perfect or Frank could not rest. It was just the most beautiful thing, and that's why he's my favorite. Here it is, Frank Leahy and the Fighting Irish. That's my second Bible. I keep it here at all times. I love Frankie boy. So I don't know, man. Notre Dame's trending up, but you should probably go beat Texas A&M. I need you to beat Texas A&M. Like, I just need you to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be a piece of cake.
I hope so.
Those fans are freaking weird.
They are. And you know who else is weird? I'm already mad at those weird male cheerleaders in the white overalls that like make rhymes about the I'm not guys. Bro, we're 9 months before that game and I'm already mad at those people. It's wild. I'm already mad at them. I hate that. It's weird. I don't understand it and I hate it. And I'm already mad about it. And it hadn't even happened.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal watching that.
Yep.
Well, thanks for taking my call.
No problem, buddy.
Fun shoveling that snow.
Yeah, I was going to ask, are you getting a bunch your way or is that heading your way after we get dumped? What's the deal?
We got nothing yet.
Wow. Well, maybe it's heading your way or we're just sitting in it, sitting
I'm
right
near
over
Toledo.
us. Man,
I'm near Toledo. We haven't got nothing yet.
Yeah, it's nasty out here. We had one round and now there's a little break and then more coming and then the cold comes. So nothing's easy.
Get your daughter out there.
Stay warm, brother, and we'll see you. Maybe I'll
get your daughter out there. Make her shovel it.
Yeah, get going. Get working, kid. They canceled school. What else is she gonna do? Get going. Grab a shovel.
Exactly.
Short stack. That's what I'm gonna say. Oh, all right, man.
All right,
have a good weekend. Stay warm. Take care. Oh man. What else? Adam, I'm bringing you up next. Roosevelt Carney. Freeman is dumb for staying at a school who has academic requirements. Here's the messed up part of that, Roosevelt. It's a very regal name you have. And as a John Kennedy, I appreciate the Roosevelt. I do. Freeman's dumb for staying in a school that has academic requirements. Here's the thing, though. I think he kind of doesn't mind it. That's a part of when I say this dude's built a little different. I don't think Freeman looks at that as the negative Kelly did. And I think that makes all the difference in the world in how you frame your work. I genuinely mean that. Like, I don't think Freeman looks at that as the negative hurdle challenge Kelly did. Freeman looks at it as like, oh, well, it's just what you got to do here, and we're going to do it. It's very different in how you process things in your mind, dictate how you're going to do your work. If you already have it in your mind, I hate this. This is a pain in the ass, an extra hurdle. Shit, I got to get on that plane and fly around to recruit. I don't want to do that. Then you're already tainting the well with negativity. But when you're like, Notre Dame's different and we have different things we got to do, and that's just the way it is, and we're going to find guys that are good players and can read and write, that's what we got to do. Let's get on the plane and go do it. When you have that positive mentality, it changes everything. So there are certainly coaches that aren't wanting to do that. And I don't think it bothers Freeman the way it does a lot of other people. And I think that makes him a uniquely good fit at Notre Dame. I don't know what else to say. This is a good one, too. Andrew, if you understand that, John, then can you understand Kelly taking LSU for $90 million guaranteed? Andrew, this is a false equivalency trick question because it's framed as though I couldn't understand it or was mad that it happened. I was thrilled it happened. So right away, this is an interesting dynamic you present. Can you understand why? Like, you're almost saying it as if I was one of the people on Twitter going, Kelly's a traitor. I'm mad at him. Now I don't like him. The day he announced he was going to LSU was one of the happiest days in the last 7 years of my life because it was just time. Kelly was over Notre Dame. Notre Dame was over with Kelly. Okay. Kelly wasn't working with and for Notre Dame, and Notre Dame wasn't working for and with Kelly. The relationship was dead. Okay. So I was thrilled that he left, and I definitely understand him leaving for 9. I was happy he did it. This would be a better question for somebody who didn't like Kelly because he left LSU than me. That's not my position. That's the best response I have for you, Andrew. This is a better question asked to somebody who was mad on Twitter the night Kelly left for LSU. I was throwing a party saying this is the best possible thing that could ever happen. It's exactly what we needed. Oh, yeah. No. Andrew, you're totally right. A ton of people were like, traitor, I can't believe you would do this in the middle of the night. And you didn't, and you did that little talk to the team in the locker room, and then you left and you were there 5 minutes. I get all that. But my view on this is tainted because I was ready for him to go for years before it actually happened. So I looked at it as a gift for us to free us up. And truthfully, I looked at it as a gift for Brian Kelly because that dude needed his eyes on new pastures. You could feel it, you guys. There was no energy around the program. It felt stale. It felt dull. No matter what we did, we ended up at the same spot. It seemed like you could just feel that had run its course. You could just feel the vibe of it. It was time. Adam, what's going on? You getting any of that snow yet out your way, or is it not left my place and hit you?
Oh, no, it's definitely here.
Yeah.
I'm looking out my garage right now, waiting to start the snowblower.
Yeah, it's dude, I'm laughing picturing Pat having a mega snowblower with a beer can holder and a cigar clip. I could just picture it now, Adam.
Definitely a cigar in his mouth, and then the snow's blowing back in his face, putting out a cigar. It'd be great.
Adam, what do you make of all this? What do you make? I want to hear your Rees takes. I want to know what you think about all this, man. What's the realities here?
I wanted to start with just the Rees take, just real quick. And John, I know I've given, you and Pat and even a little bit Gould a little bit of crap on Rees. But I think I've kind of evolved with my thoughts on Rees. Originally, I always thought he got a pass because he was a Notre Dame guy and the offenses just weren't very good.
Yeah.
They weren't good enough. And I always felt like the people that loved him gave him a pass because if his name was John Kennedy, they wouldn't be giving him that pass.
Yeah.
But now that I've really thought about it and seen our issues at quarterback and skill position for these last few years, wide receiver, I started to think, it was really just the talent evaluation, the recruiting, and the development more than the play calling.
Yeah.
That's really what I think about him. And if he can go somewhere else and learn from Saban and great recruiters in the South and make some relationships in the South and come back to Notre Dame as maybe a better head coach than a recruiter, a main recruiter and developer of quarterbacks and receivers. And if he could come back better in 10 years, I'm not against that. That would be great.
Yeah, that is another difference when people ask why I look differently at Rees than Kelly is. Like, it's just a totally different thing. And Rees wants to end up back at Notre Dame as head coach. That is like a stated known thing he wants to do. And I don't know. It'd be good for Notre Dame if he does get anywhere. I want him to do well. I have nothing personal against Tommy. The offenses and the quarterbacks just were not good enough when he was running the offense here. Blame Kelly, blame who Rees wanted the quarterback to be. There's no world where I'm looking at Drew Pine and going, that guy needs a Notre Dame scholarship. I'm going to punch myself in the face, bro. There would never be 1 minute I would think that, ever. No. So there's a lot of this I don't get.
That's the main issue with him. It was, there's been guys that he said no to, and he went for Pine and Buckner, and then told Marcus in his first year he didn't need a transfer. He was good with those guys. And the receiver room has been a disaster for years since Claypool and Boykin left. Honestly,
yeah,
it has.
Yeah,
and he's, so I think it's more about the, talent evaluation and recruiting development with him, not scheme and play calling. So, everyone gets better at their job, years later. You get more experience. You learn from your experiences. So when Marcus is done at Notre Dame, if he somehow gets a head job somewhere and proves he's a good head coach, I mean, I'm not against that.
Yeah.
What I was against is him maybe having hard feelings that he didn't get a better look at Notre Dame when they hired Marcus. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did hear that was a part of it too. And so I don't know, man. I just don't have the same animosity towards him I do Kelly. And I'm also not closing the door that we have seen the last of Rees also. And that, like, I'm sure we've seen the last of Kelly. I am not certain there is never a decade where Rees comes back as Notre Dame's head coach with more experience, skins on the wall. And then I would like having that version of Rees maybe overseeing everything. I could see that, man. Rees has that older, Rees is younger, but he kind of operates like an older school guy with the way he carries himself and all that. It's interesting.
Yeah, he in 10 years will be 41. And 10 years, Marcus will probably be moving on.
Oh, man, that is wild how young he is still to be where he is already in this. And I don't know here's another question. Say they hire DeBoer or whatever, or the guy from Florida State, Norvell. Then what does Tommy do? Where does he go?
Probably I was thinking he was going to end up at LSU for sure, but maybe not.
Like, that's the next thing I'm thinking of is where does he go? Or does he start looking into the NFL opportunities and maybe look to make that jump? Like, I don't know. There's a lot in play for Tommy Boy.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's he's gone now. He's not our problem. I love where we're at. If you really look around college football, I mean, you've touched a little bit about that with our coordinators. Now we got to get Al to sign that extension. I mean,
you don't want to get Denbrock. You don't want to get Denbrocked, right? Where we just went we just went through this with us on the winning end. And I've heard people say, oh, it's floating around out there and it's been that. Yeah, I know, but it isn't on ink. And that's how we got Denbrock. So you just better protect yourself.
Yeah. And you look around college football and you see some of these big time like USC and Ohio State were fighting over Will Howard. Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna be honest with you. Like this year, I mean, I feel great about where the team is. I mean, the only question mark, I think the offensive line looks like they'll be fine. Maybe the young linebackers, but I mean, the receiver room's better than it's been in years, I think. So, I mean, we should feel good.
Yeah. Oh, somebody put, how about a combo of Rees and Charlie Jr. as the OC? Let it cook. Look at that. I love that. Look at that. Dude, it all comes back full circle. We were used to Tommy Rees,
Yep.
the recruit, Tommy Rees, the underage drinker running from the cops. And then you had little Charlie following his dad around, and it all comes full circle. Adam, we're getting old. All these guys are old. Now we're getting old. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah. When Tommy was playing, you couldn't wait to get him off the field, and then he would always come back and have to save the game, come in and relieve.
Yeah,
And
dude.
then now that
Bullpen.
he's coaching, he's going to
Bullpen.
come back again.
Man, it's wild. It's wild. And so I don't know, Adam. There's just a lot of moving parts. I'm telling you, though, dude, I know what I'm looking for. And you and I talk almost every day about something Notre Dame. I'm telling you, I know what I'm looking for. And oh, that's mean. Andrew Gilmore, he said it. Did Charlie Jr. get gastric bypass yet? I don't think he did. I think he grew out of it. He grew out of it instead of into it. He grew out of it. He got taller and thinned out. And so
Yeah.
I lost my train of thought. Andrew, you threw me off, man. I forgot what I was even talking about thinking of that. You totally threw me off. Never mind, dude. You screwed me up. You jerk. Never mind.
I think you're right on, though, John, on, I think the hard work's kind of been done. It's the last 2 years, we were fighting through receiver issues. We were fighting through quarterback issues.
Yep.
Marcus was learning on the job. We had a coordinator this year that never did it. Al Golden was getting his system in the first year. Now you have two old coordinators that just want to coach ball. They're not looking for a head coaching job. They're not looking
low
to take
ego.
Freeman's
Low
job.
ego.
Yeah, we got a good quarter. Riley Leonard is a whole nother athlete that you're really gonna notice it when you see him on the field. The guy's 6'4", 220, can run, got a cannon for an arm. The receivers that we got out of the portal are better. You wait till you see these young linebackers, guys. I'm telling you. I mean, Bertrand and they were nice players, but these are different athletes.
Yeah, they are. And so I don't know, Adam. It feels like we are trending up. It feels like the administration is kind of starting to acquiesce to some of the larger scale, big picture needs within the program. I'm seeing a lot of things lining up that tell me Notre Dame's really trying to maybe get a little bit more modern. And I never thought I'd say it, Adam, but I'm seeing these little indicators. There's more flexibility in the portal. The recruiting is really solid. 25, they're way ahead of schedule on that. Like, there's just a lot here I like. The staff is one of the better Notre Dame ones I could think of. There's a lot trending in the right direction. It's got to end up showing on the field, though, or nobody's going to care. It's got to show on the field at some point.
Yeah, for moving forward, it's playoff or bust every year. So 12-team playoff,
yep.
or it's a bad season.
100,
that's what it is.
Yeah, 100%. And then eventually, Adam, we need to have the discussion of when do you get to move that bar up to getting in the playoff and winning a game as the bar? I have had that in my mind already. A 12-team playoff, yeah, you got to be in there, but when do we get to crank it up and go, you got to get in and win a game for this to be a success? That's a different debate.
Real fast. Once we're in it, then yeah, we need to win a game, and hopefully we'll be the higher seed in those games, and we have a home game.
Yeah, but, and then and I'm still struggling with is 10-2 good enough to get Notre Dame in every year? Or does it have to be 11-1 after those years, depending on what else happens around the country? Kelly ended up.
Some years it will.
Yeah.
Some years it will, and some years it won't. Because remember that group of 5 gets a spot too, so that takes another.
I hate that
spot. It's not really 12; it's 11. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then
so the group of 5.
I don't like that. Yeah, there should be they shouldn't get in automatically. There should be a qualifier that they can get in if they're a certain rank or so. I don't know. Because they just get in automatically no matter what, and it takes a spot. I don't know. But that 11-1, Kelly ended up 13th this year at 9-3. So Kelly and LSU were the highest 3-loss team, and they ended up 13th. So I just looked at that as like a frame of reference of where these things fall. So this year, there was a 9-3 team that was one spot out of that 12. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting.
Don't forget that Liberty would have been in the playoff this year. So that would have took a spot too. So I think
Yeah.
12, number 12 would have been out. Whoever ended up number 12, they wouldn't have been in.
And then the other
Liberty
thing,
takes a spot.
the other thing I'm wondering is when you get these conferences that are going to realign, when you get a bigger, more competitive Big Ten with more teams that are able to beat some of these teams, and they're getting rid of the divisions where you, in the title game, you get to play a 4-loss Northwestern or an Iowa with no offense or whatever. They're getting rid of that. Is there more parity within those conferences where there are going to be more teams with 2 losses, 3 losses? Like, I just wonder, there's so many changes coming. I just don't know.
Yeah, there's so many changes. Even your last caller was dead on the parity in college football has changed so much the last couple of years to where I think schools like Georgia and Alabama and even Clemson, when they were rolling, they don't have 5-stars sitting on the bench, 4 and 5-star, high 4 stars and 5 stars waiting to play. They're transferring now.
Yeah.
So their depth that's what would kill you. Before that, Notre Dame had nowhere near the depth that these other teams had. And now if one of their top players goes down or anything, they don't have the depth that they used to have. They used to have 5 stars sitting the bench behind 5 stars. They don't have that anymore.
Yeah, yep, you're right. And so things are changing a lot, Adam. I want to go along for the ride. I think Freeman is a perfect vessel to move Notre Dame into this modern era. Like, that's really the way I look at it. Like, as a courtesan that is moving us along, ushering us in the modern era, I think Freeman's vibe and his energy and his work ethic and his communication and all that, he is the perfect vessel to usher us into this and be able to get some of this done. I like it.
Yep. Just get that new football building going.
There you go. Get that. Yeah, the Dowling football facility. I can't wait to see it, man. How much did you donate? How much did you donate out there? Make sure it's near the north lot. Maybe we could just have that whole building to tailgate in, Adam.
Yeah, I told them, John, listen, I'm going to donate you this money, but you can't take my parking spot anymore.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. All right, go shovel some snow, Adam, and just drink Miller Lite and look out the window all day. What else you going to do, man? Be safe out there.
Yeah.
All right,
buddy,
I'll talk to you.
I'm
sure I'll text you later something about Notre Dame. There is not a day that goes by Adam and I don't text about something in Notre Dame land. It's a beautiful thing. Andrew Gilmore with the $5 holler. John, if you were the admin, would you feel any pressure to give Freeman an extension? Thamel's usually well-sourced. This is really, really interesting. Man, you guys cover a lot of things that are on my mind. I don't even remember whether it's a YouTube video or a Patreon video I recorded that'll be posted in the next few days. But I did Stephen Arado says the Always Irish building. We don't make enough money in super chats to build one. But I like the idea. You are always sliding into his DMs. We don't need to DM. We just text every day, multiple times a day. He's one of my Notre Dame guys. I'm sorry. Very, very interesting here. To me, the only way Freeman got linked to that Bama job, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me for them to take on undue risk of a developmental guy when you don't need to, is agents. And then the agents trying to create the exact dynamic Andrew's speaking about, where they're sitting there going, oh, man, geez, is this Bavakwa, whoever? They're going, man, how real is this? Or how not real? Look at this. Our guys being linked here. Does that make you want to push to offer Freeman more money or an extension or redo the buyout and all that? Connor, what's going on? What do we got, Connor? Some prayers needed today. My cousin Kyle, 39 years old, has passed. Diehard ND fan and served our country. God bless you. And God bless your cousin Kyle. 39's too young, man. That's how old I am. So that hits home to me. Connor, if you want a candle lit at the grotto, we could do that. I could try and get that done for your family, even in the weather, man. I will try and have somebody who I know is on campus today get over there and light one for you. But God bless you guys in a tough time. All right. Wrapping up the Freeman contract thing. I don't know. Does Bavacqua hold firm on I need to see more on-field results, like getting over the hump, and then do you need to see all that? A part of me also thinks, though, that Notre Dame's along for the ride, man. They're letting Freeman do some of the things he needs to do. They're giving him more flexibility. They're seeing things trending in the right direction. It doesn't feel to me that the administration's not bought in on Freeman at all. So does it make sense to just lock him in longer or whatever? Then again, here's the other thing. These buyouts, for the places Freeman would go, the buyouts are nothing. What is it? $4 million now? Big deal. Big deal. A football factory wipes a noose with $4 million every day. That doesn't do anything. Connor, I'll try and get that done for you today, man. Grotto candles just count different. Grotto candles, they just count different. And they hit me harder, man. The grotto prayers and candles are just a different thing to me. There's some power in that. Maybe that's just me and my Notre Dameness, but I believe that. I'll be able to get that done. It's nice to have people that work on campus all the time. You can just shoot them a text and they can go do something for you. So I don't know whether you extend him or not. And then again, it's everybody's pretty well bought in. The administration likes him. If they didn't trust his direction, the administration would not. That's the other part of this. We'll wrap up on this. If the administration didn't feel confident in Freeman and the direction and what he's trying to do, they wouldn't be loosening up things and letting more modernity kick in. They wouldn't be loosening some of the portal guidelines. They probably still would do the football building expansion. That was discussed even when Kelly was there. I'm not going to give Freeman credit for that. But with the NIL and the money, I know I've heard what's in that fund that they have access to, that number. You don't let all this stuff grow to this level if you don't trust that guy, I don't think. So, I don't know. I don't know. We got a $10 holler, Jacob Saylor. Part of my tip for the phone line. Still a Michigan. Go Irish. Freeman is too secure to have his agents put out feelers. The admin has given him no reason to feel he isn't valued or trusted. Yeah. Sark just inked a big extension at Texas. There you go, man. You got that too. Night show tomorrow. Maybe not. I may be able to make it work. I might have something and I'm not able to make it work. So I'll let you guys know. We'll make a decision on that. There's certainly a lot to discuss. That's for sure. Wow. So fun show today. Unique bank of callers. And we had Pat, who's obviously a regular, and then Shep, who's a professional media guy and my boss. Good to have him here. And so, yeah, man, it's just fun to discuss a lot of this stuff. And I don't know. Yeah, for sure. Eric, I owe you. Eric, I know. I'm behind on my emails and I have other things business things I need to talk with you about and figure out. Eric, we got to get on the phone together and talk through some stuff. There's a lot of shit rattling around in my brain. So I need to get with you on the phone. I'll hit you back on the email. So yeah, this was a fun show. A lot of moving parts. Like where Notre Dame's headed. Going to be interesting to see where Alabama goes. Change, man. Just a lot of change. Change is the word in college football. Is it going to benefit Notre Dame? Is it going to hurt Notre Dame? We got to wait and see. But I enjoyed this show. It had a different mix and a different feel to it with the topic and everything going on. All of you guys be safe. And don't wipe out in the snow or, have a heart attack shoveling or anything. Be safe. Don't drive around. Stay in, have a drink. stay warm, watch a movie. I don't know. Why do I live in Illinois? All right. I'll talk to you guys. I'll let you know. I'll post whether we're going to go live tomorrow night or not. Have a good day. Take care. Thank you, everyone.